Showtime! Draft week, draft eve. Welcome in PHNX Cardinals podcast brought to you by two handsome men. PHNX Cardinals, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bo Brack, live at the PHNX headquarters in downtown Phoenix. How are we feeling? Christmas Eve.
That's right. Draft eve. Hope springs eternal as far as this organization goes. Could they screw it up? Absolutely possible. But are we still confident in this new regime to go out there and make some exciting picks that we can get behind? Yeah, absolutely. Is there going to be a trade down? I don't know yet. I don't know anything beyond what I knew yesterday or what we've tried to learn throughout this entire process. We're just gonna put it all on the table tonight, right? We're just gonna tell you everything we know going into this thing that we've learned along the way, from traveling to Mobile, Alabama, going to the Senior Bowl, going to Indianapolis, staying in just a house of horrors as far as an Airbnb that had dolls all over the wall.
I missed it.
Staying in there, staying out into all hours, talking to prospects, coaches, front office members, and then, of course, what we've learned from this new Cardinals front office, new coaching staff, what direction they could possibly go. They stick and pick at 3. If they trade down, which stinks of desperation, according to Todd McShay, draft expert of ESPN.
Shut up, Todd.
Shut up, Todd. Nobody asked you.
Shut your mouth, Todd McShay.
Mock a player to the Cardinals and shut up. No, you got speaking of mocks, we're basically going to step back and let the viewers, the listeners of this great podcast, actually the great listeners of this podcast, I wouldn't say it's great. They're going to make the picks. We're going to go through their mock drafts and see which ones are the best. I've got some superlatives of these mock drafts as well. Can't wait to get into those.
I can't wait to get into the BetMGM Sportsbook app, by the way. There's a new favorite off the top of the show to be the 3rd overall pick. It's not Will Anderson Jr. It's not Tyree Wilson, thank God. It's Paris Johnson Jr. He's creeping up. He's creep like TLC. Almost to the point where you can't get plus money on Paris Johnson Jr. What the hell is happening? We're going to tell you right now. So the franchise is on the brink of absolute chaos as it relates, Bo Brack, to pick number 3. This franchise needs to hit a home run in this draft. They've got DeAndre Hopkins they have to deal with. Is that already done? We're going to talk about that. I do think they're going to end up picking at 3. I'm going to make a prediction right now. I think they're going to stick and pick because of what you just said. I think the offers right now are not as robust as they would like. I don't think they're going to take 80 cents on the dollar. And I think if teams are calling up to take Paris Johnson Jr., which we've heard from Tony Pauline, among others, why not take him yourself? I think there's a real possibility the Cardinals take the Ohio State tackle 3rd overall. How would you feel about that? What would be your reaction at Four Peaks if that happens?
Well, I'm the meme of the guy looking at himself in the mirror and pointing at him and saying, "You will like this pick. You're going to talk yourself into liking Paris Johnson Jr. as a good, valuable pick at 3rd overall." Seems a little bit rich as far as where they would be selecting, but once you kind of get what's really going to help this thing is time, and what really is going to help is obviously playing one of the premium positions, the tackle position, and the fact that you're going to have him locked in potentially for 5 years, 4 years plus the option year, the 5th year on the first round picks contracts. And you would have a guy right away, new regime, doing something completely different than the old regime and picking a premium position and somebody that's going to help back up and support and block for your franchise quarterback going forward. First move they really make, biggest splash move possible, is going out there and getting the consensus top tackle. I'm already talking myself into it, but I would like to see them trade down and still pick a player like Paris Johnson Jr.
I can't wait to go to my wife and say, "Honey, we're going to Paris," and then holding up a Paris Johnson Jr. jersey for her, one of those fresh new white jerseys. Say, "Here you go. Can't wait to see you out at the lawn at State Farm Stadium this fall." And then she promptly divorces me. All right. So I think that's in the cards. But I also feel like this Tyree Wilson saga to me is interesting. It's fascinating. And I hope, and I said this on Bets earlier today, PHNX Bets Daily Podcast every day at noon, I hope the Houston Texans save the Cardinals from themselves and take Tyree Wilson, because it has long been rumored, we've discussed it, that Tyree Wilson is a preferred option for this franchise. I'm fine with it in a trade down scenario. I would rather have Paris Johnson Jr. at left tackle at pick 3 over Tyree Wilson. I'm in that camp. I might be in a minority. That's okay. Give me the guy that went to the Big Ten powerhouse, Ohio State, that, made the Final Four, was fantastic against Georgia over the, a guy in the Big 12 that had 7 sacks. I know we're talking about projections, but it does sound like right now Tyree Wilson is the favorite to go second overall. What would that do for the Arizona Cardinals and the landscape of pick 3, Bo? Because I think it unlocks a ton of possibilities. It allows C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson to become available. It allows Will Anderson Jr. to be a significant, serious option for the Arizona Cardinals. I should note, by the way, I know I led the show with our guy Paris. Will Anderson Jr. is close behind Paris in terms of the odds to go third overall.
Yeah, and that makes me upset because a month ago I took Anthony Richardson on the BetMGM app, and it looks like I'm going to be a big fat loser, and that's fine.
Not yet. Not
but as far as those prospects, I would say that the scapegoat pick for the Cardinals here would be Will Anderson Jr. going too. No, like that takes their ability to pass on him away.
I think we do not want to have a scenario where on the clock tomorrow and both Tyree and Will are available, and the Cardinals pick Tyree Wilson. Sure. That's worse. That's DEFCON 5 at Four Peaks tomorrow.
That's the worst of all realities, in your opinion.
Yes. Well, 100%.
But then here's the best of all realities: that if C.J. Stroud is on the board and he's right for the pick, and for whatever quarterback hungry team fell in love with them, Monti Ossenfort can do this. For our podcast listeners, I'm just waving around smoke, clearing up the smoke in this room, because all that smoke screening as far as teams and the way that they went after C.J. Stroud, and, the C2 score, something we had barely ever heard of going into this draft process, how he scored in the 18th percentile allegedly, and them going against and crushing C.J. Stroud as a prospect. Some team's going to say, you know what, we think he's our franchise quarterback. He's got good size. He's got great numbers the last 2 seasons playing at Ohio State. We think that he can buck the trend of Ohio State quarterbacks flopping once they get to the NFL. Justin Fields is trying his best at that. C.J. Stroud is going to give his best effort at that as well. And I think a lot of franchises, or quarterback-hungry franchises, feel like they would be put in a prime position to tab their franchise quarterback by getting to 3 and trading down with the Cardinals. That's the best of all realities.
It is. John McClain, longtime Houston reporter covering the Houston Texans, is on the record saying he does not think it's going to be C.J. Stroud or Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson. He thinks it's going to be Will Levis. He came out and made that prediction today, which is laughable. Plus 1,000 to go third overall. Will Levis, though, on BetMGM, plus 250. Tyree Wilson, plus 150. So, I mean, we're talking about C.J. Stroud plus 500. So
that's pretty on brand, right? I mean, they feel like there's similarities between Levis, his personality, and the GM there, and Nick Caserio. That probably
weirdos.
Not a good thing. Yeah, like cocky but odd, right? Yeah, Levis putting mayonnaise in his coffee. I didn't misspeak there. He puts mayonnaise in his coffee, and then he drinks the coffee. He also eats the banana with the peel. He doesn't peel his bananas. He just eats them straight up.
Pick and spreads saying smoke, and more smoke. It's a smoke screen. I would agree with you to some extent. When Vegas, though, has C.J. Stroud, that was once considered the quintessential not only second pick overall, but first pick, now plus 500. I mean, Vegas is not trying to blow smoke. Vegas is telling you there's long odds. He's got the 4th biggest odds to be taken second overall. That's legitimate.
I feel like instead of staring down a mock draft, I've walked onto Snoop Dogg's tour bus, and I just can't even see
through the fog
2 feet in front of me. I just can't. Yeah. I can't. And this is insane, because normally you can get to 3 to 4. Like a couple years ago, the Falcons were kind of the linchpin of this draft, and they go with Kyle Pitts after Trey Lance. Last year, you can't even get to pick 2 without saying, just throwing your hands up in the air like, I don't know what's going on. And here's why it is like that, because Houston, like Indy, right behind the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are at a disadvantage because the 2 wild cards that they're sandwiched in between. Just how crazy these 2 franchises, 2 organizations, Houston is and Indianapolis is. And the idea that Houston's saying, we're not scared on passing on a quarterback. Well, you should be. It's the most important position in sports. And you're willing in a deep edge class to take some decent, the top defensive edge rushers in this draft over the most important position in sports, which would be crazy, but it would benefit the Cardinals. But the fact that we don't know which direction it's going is putting Monti Ossenfort and crew in a holding pattern.
Yeah, you can look at it two ways. You could say, well, if they take a quarterback that hurts the Cardinals because maybe that quarterback would have been a prime trade-up target, but you could also say, well, no, we want less quarterbacks available, so teams have a sense of urgency to know they can't wait out Indianapolis. We're not going to know definitively until tomorrow. But sitting here today, I just feel like the Cardinals have been so vocal about trading the pick. And I know 6 teams called them between, the NFL Combine and now, at least 6 teams about moving up. Now, that was before, a lot of that was before the Bears made their trade. And so maybe they were looking to trade up for Bryce Young. I don't know. But Paris Johnson Jr., the fast infatuation with him is real. We know it. They met with him at the Combine. They were at Ohio State's Pro Day. They used the top 30 visit. One of their earliest top 30 visits was on Paris Johnson Jr. And you wonder if that was the day they decided, hey, we feel really good about this guy. If we have to stick and pick, that we're going to put such an emphasis on protection for Kyler Murray. If he's the 7th best player in the draft, fuck it. We'll take him 3rd overall. And I don't hate that mindset because outside of quarterback and pass rusher, the left tackle is the most important position in the NFL.
And I'm not going to try to put fear in Arizona Cardinals fans' hearts right now or in their mind. Like when I was out there today at voluntary mini camp, it's very early in the process, but DJ Humphries still not practice. I mean, he's out there working on the side with the rest of the, who would be deemed, unhealthy or injured players. So he's still coming back. It feels like from whatever back issue he was dealing with at the end of the season. And backs are a hell of a thing, man. I mean, it's definitely still one of the toughest things to forecast and diagnose as far as injuries go.
Was Josh Jones participating with the tackles, and was he at left tackle?
We didn't get to see that much. We didn't get to see them line up in any formations. We just saw position groups kind of getting loose. It was open for about 20, 25 minutes. We do have an update. Does Zaven Collins have a new position? We'll get into that later. But as far as the offensive line, it's an interesting group, right? It's one that they've flooded through numbers where you've got guys who are versatile. You got a bunch of jack of all trades on the offensive line, but masters of none, right? I mean, I think the only 2 things you could say without a shadow of doubt is Calvin Beachum right tackle and Will Hernandez right guard. But other than that, it's kind of a free for all.
Yeah, and people are asking in the chat, where does Paris play? I think he can play guard the first year, but if DJ Humphries isn't healthy and they draft Paris Johnson Jr., and Paris Johnson Jr. is the starter during minicamp and he doesn't falter, DJ Humphries isn't getting that job back. They'll cut DJ Humphries, they'll trade him, they'll put him on the bench, they'll do a number of different things. They would probably have a sense of urgency to move him because DJ Humphries hasn't played right tackle ever. Has he? Maybe in his rookie year. I can't even remember. It's been so long.
No, his rookie year, he was basically a red shirt.
Right. He didn't even suit up. I think he played right tackle just a little bit. It's been too long. They have a right tackle in Calvin Beachum, and they have a swing tackle in Josh Jones.
Yeah.
Paris Johnson Jr. gets drafted by the Cardinals tomorrow. The clock's ticking if it hasn't already on DJ Humphries. And listen, we saw DJ Humphries. You saw him today. I saw him at the uniform unveiling. He looks fantastic, but he's an old player. And the Cardinals are not going to let players clearly under contract dictate who they pick as the next stalwarts at these positions in the NFL draft and beyond. So I'm going to tell you right now, I think Paris plays guard the first year, assuming DJ is healthy. But if DJ's, can anybody tell me right now DJ Humphries can make it through a 17-game season again? I can't. He's in a contract year. I don't think that's realistic at all.
And this isn't an indictment on DJ Humphries. This is a testament to him thinking beyond his football career. He's got his own podcast, and it's more driven towards, how he negotiated his last extension and stuff like that. He's thinking about life after football. And sometimes, when you look at this position, left tackle, it's one of the most important as far as on a football field, and especially protecting a player like Kyler Murray, who just inked this massive deal. So to protect his blind side, that is going to be so paramount for this organization going forward. And, you could say, does he get enough snaps early on? Oh, man, are we watching the last regime again? And we're going to see another first-round pick who plays around 20 to 30% of the snaps. And that's fine. Like, I think the longer play here is if you get a player who projects like Paris Johnson Jr. does to be a starting caliber left tackle in this league, I think that's an easy win for Monti Ossenfort and crew. Now, I still will maintain I'd love to see that in a trade down.
Yeah. And I think if you get to pick 7 with the Las Vegas Raiders, that's a realistic spot. And I think that's what's difficult for them, because looking at the odds right now, BetMGM is your best friend here in the next 24 to 48 hours. Who's the favorite to go 5th overall? You can't even get even money. Jalen Carter, minus 140 to be a Seattle Seahawk. Well, and think of what you wanted, Jalen Carter. That helps the Cardinals, right? You would presume dumpster fire Indianapolis is taking a quarterback 4th overall. So then all you would have to do is assure yourself of Paris Johnson Jr. between picks 6 and 7. The Lions have maybe the best set of tackles in the NFL. The Cardinals, if they trade down from 3 to 7, are almost guaranteed Paris Johnson Jr. And I'm sure that's their mindset. Even if we take 50 cents on the dollar from what the Trey Lance Miami Dolphins deal was, if somebody comes up, if you trade the 3rd overall pick to the Las Vegas Raiders for CJ Stroud, Will Levis is available, Will Anderson Jr. is available, if Tyree goes 2nd overall, Jalen Carter's available, Christian Gonzalez is available, Devon Witherspoon, you have a really good chance. I would say the best team, the odds to maybe steal Paris from you is Indianapolis at 4. But we feel like they're determined to get a quarterback. Yeah. So I'm with you. Try to get from the Las Vegas Raiders at least their 2nd round pick and say, hey, you want your quarterback? Come up, give us your 2nd. We'll call it a done deal. And
I love that. Did you see that?
Everyone wanted Keim to build the O-line, and now they have a chance to, and they're saying it's too early.
Right. Or it's just like, when everybody was asking for the full reset, get rid of Keim, get rid of Cliff, and they do it, and then it didn't seem like it was enough, right?
I want to make another quick point here, real quick. So be careful, because there are 2 schools of thought, and I might just contradict myself if I say this. Don't believe the narrative that no one wants to trade up. Here is what definitively people are saying. No one has been able to meet the Cardinals' asking price as of now. Multiple people have come out and said that, which is very different than saying no one wants to trade up to number 3. We've got 24 hours almost to the minute before the first round starts. That's a lot of time to find a middle ground for the Cardinals and another team that wants to trade up.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest crock of shit, where people are saying no one wants to trade up for these. No. What's been put out there is no one has met the Cardinals asking, because the Cardinals asking price, similar to DeAndre Hopkins, is really high.
Right. Well, and also, like, I saw this stupid tweet from McShay, and I don't mean to drag McShay.
No, let's do it.
We're 2 for 2 on the show today, but he said it's been 4 seasons since there's been a trade during the draft within the top 10, I believe, for a quarterback. I'm like, well, Justin Fields, the Bears, they moved up to get Justin Fields, albeit on the outside of the top 10. You had the pre-draft day trades that went down for Trey Lance. I mean, it just seems like there's so many qualifiers for that to be true, and to think that it's never going to happen again, or like that's in vogue as far as the NFL and how front offices operate. And like, we're on the clock. No way we can pull off a trade to move up. Monti Ossenfort has offers for this deal. It doesn't feel like he's gotten the best offer. Maybe he'll go lean back on an offer that he's already got, but he's holding out hope before he pulls the trigger, and making sure, Houston does what he thinks they're going to do, and see if he can maximize this pick in order to really kind of jumpstart this rebuild. And it's risky. It's risky as all hell, because, but in the worst case scenario, you still could be put in a position to just stick and pick, take the player that you love the most off the board right then and there. But best case scenario, you're able to trade down, get future assets, and then also get a player that you really like.
What I was complaining about last week about his kind of glossing over of, maybe their affinity for Will Anderson Jr., almost feels like they're making up for it now with how much they like Paris Johnson Jr. Like, shit, guys, if we don't get a trade offer, we'll just take Paris Johnson Jr., put it on the bet sites. That's who's going to be the third overall pick. He has almost replaced Will Anderson Jr. Remember the presser last week? Will's a good player. And I said, there's no harm in, building Will up for people to think that you're just going to take him third overall. I think they're kind of maybe retroactively rethinking that and talking up Paris Johnson Jr. We're going to talk about DeAndre Hopkins, his ever-changing market. But first, I mentioned it. Ample times right now, the best time to get on the BetMGM Sportsbook. Right now, new customers click into the NBA playoff matchup of your choice. Signature bet tab, fantastic. We got the Phoenix Suns advancing to the Western Conference semifinals, and who better time to team up with BetMGM than right now, today. And we got special offers all this week into next week. Speaking of the NBA, which player is going to win the tip-off? Player X to make a 30-plus point field goal. Any two teams to make 4+ threes. There's a ton of stuff. And then, my baby, speaking of the NFL draft, you can do the NFL Draft Predictor Challenge. Answer 10 questions for the chance to win 25 bones and withdrawal bonus dollars. Miss out on that grand prize? Answer 7+ correct for that sweet, sweet bonus bet promotion. And under the promotion tab, all you got to do, find Draft Predictor Challenge. You got to enter by tomorrow, by 4 p.m. Pacific time, just an hour before the NFL draft. So go and do it now. And by the way, come out, watch parties, Phoenix Suns, postseason, away games, presented by Neutral with our friends at BetMGM Sportsbook at the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium. Can you say $6 rally, the Valley Margaritas? Hell yeah, we expect a long postseason run en route to a championship for our Phoenix Suns. We're going to do it with our friends at BetMGM. If you have not signed up yet, check out BetMGM Sportsbook, the app, the premier gambling app. Use that bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our friends and family here at Arizona, you're going to get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you're using that bonus code PHNX. And now, before he goes bon voyage to Mexico tomorrow, check out the show notes and listen to our guy Shane in the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
Pleasant travels, our friend Shane. As he heads south, right? It's going to be great. But there's a buzz around here today. Everybody's pumped. One, the Suns, they closed it out last night. Devin Booker is a god. And then, of course, D-backs just won their game today. There's winning, and the winning continues tomorrow. 4 peaks. The whole squad's going to be there from PHNX Sports. There's not going to be a game 6 for the Suns. Instead, everybody's going to be hanging out with you, me, Johnny, the entire crew, PHNX Sports at 4 Peaks. You don't want to miss it. You wear your PHNX Sports gear. We're buying you a beer. That means we're going to get you that $3 lager. Yeah, we're going to get you that $5 Redbird lager pitcher if you want it. How about $3 kilts, $3 wows? Come and hang out with the show all first round long. Whether the Arizona Cardinals are picking third, if they trade down, maybe a couple times, maybe they're on the board a couple times. You're going to witness it live with us. We're going to break it down with you at 4 Peaks. Enjoy the booze, the brews, of course, the first round festivities, of course, the great food. You get the appetizers, the entrees, and the desserts, everything you know and love about 4 Peaks. Come join us for the first round of the NFL Draft. Cardinals, they're ushering in a new era. Do it with us at 4 Peaks. Got to be 21 years or older to enjoy the beer. Cannot wait to see you.
Pac-Man at it again. Pat McAfee Show, our number one source with DeAndre Hopkins. The Pac-Man, whose number one source is probably DeAndre Hopkins, texting his phone, went on Pat McAfee, doubled down today, said that DeAndre Hopkins will be traded tonight or tomorrow, right? He said earlier in the week, look out for Thursday. Well, he's doubling down on that. Said the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, 2 teams that we've previewed and mentioned on this show about 100 million times since this has started as the 2 most likely destinations over the past 4 to 6 weeks. Love this. Pit them against each other. People are throwing in Baltimore. I don't think that's realistic, but hell, why not? I have a sinking feeling, a good feeling, I should say, that we're going to see the return result for DeAndre Hopkins, and we're going to be pleasantly surprised. We're going to be surprised in the best possible way that Monti Ossenfort waited this out, put a sense of urgency on these teams, low-key finding out this receiving core maybe is a little bit ass, and now they're gonna benefit from it. I know nothing. I just have a feeling a lot of people on the Twitter streets, on the YouTube streets would lead you to believe Hopkins was going to go for a fourth about 3 weeks ago. Salary dump. Remember Albert Breer, our friend of the show? Cut him. They're just waiting for teams to cut him. Why on earth would this be announced tonight or tomorrow if it wasn't for, I would say, a pretty nice package of picks?
It's tough to decipher through all, on the Twitter streets, what's fact, what's fiction, but you got Lamar Jackson, who is just, as far as his tweeting, his maybe even borderline trolling, putting out just like the SpongeBob GIF yesterday. You don't know if it's about his new contract potentially. You don't know about if they're adding D-Hop to their wide receiver core that they just added OBJ to, or the Chiefs, as you mentioned, the Bills. You got 3 teams, right?
Yeah.
And everybody was saying how many, for all those months with Green Bay and the Jets, Green Bay has no leverage. Green Bay is not going to get anything that you expect him to get in return for Aaron Rodgers. It's a divorce. It's inevitable. They'll be lucky to get a second-round pick. They get the pick swaps. They get future picks. And Aaron Rodgers is wearing gangrene. He's wearing a Jets uniform. Same thing, same feeling with DeAndre Hopkins. I think they're going to get fine package. Same thing for third overall pick. Once you put these teams in a spot of desperation, they have only 2 ways to go. One is to walk away from the negotiation table, or to buy into what Monti Ossenfort is asking for. Both assets, third overall pick, DeAndre Hopkins. Now, those don't have to be exclusive. They can be separate, and he can maximize the value of both of those. But it's exciting. I mean, it's a bummer that we're not going to watch DeAndre Hopkins play football in Arizona Cardinals uniform any longer. But in order to take one of those assets and flip them, turn them into something to where Monti Ossenfort can use it as ammo to bring in young players they can draft and develop, that's exciting from that standpoint.
Yeah, I just keep going back to the notion that if I'm a team picking on day 2 and I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying to save my job. I'm a general manager. I'm a head coach. Do I want, I don't know, that 5'9" kid from North Carolina, what's his name? Josh something or other. Do I want Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee? Do I want Josh Downs from North Carolina for my second round pick? Or do I want motherfucking DeAndre Hopkins second round pick? Maybe I'll take this gadget.
It's like Les Snead during the 2021 season, right? I mean, Les Snead, when teams were balking at the asking price for a Von Miller, adding a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., he was aggressive. And a lot of, it will pay off sometimes. And if you're aggressive and you use your assets that you have, and you're willing to maybe just come over the top a little bit. And in this, relative to what I'm talking about, come over the top, I'm not saying first round pick. I'm not saying second round pick, or maybe a second, but a late second, or a early third round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. That you will likely be rewarded by the play on the field by Nuke. Don't you think? I mean, it just seems
he's a Hall of Famer. He's a big time player.
Reasons to say no. That's a lot of the part of why the Twitter app exists, is people want to poo-poo things and they want to say no. But it's when you see the play on the field. I mean, I saw Ravens fans, just highlight reel after highlight reel of DeAndre Hopkins. Can you imagine what this guy would look like in a Ravens uniform? It gets the people going. You want to energize a fan base that has been just completely just blindsided and pummeled by bad news that they could lose their franchise quarterback and they can never get any top wide receivers to come to Baltimore and play with Lamar. And you could land 2 of the best in the last, decade? I mean, I think that would be a big win. Or get anybody to play with Patrick Mahomes.
I think there is so much pressure on the Buffalo Bills this year to win and overcome that stinker of a season last year to somehow, I mean, they've been overtaken by Cincinnati and Kansas City, and you've got Jacksonville on their tails. Let's see if the Chargers get their act together. Buffalo is in a division now with Aaron Rodgers, right? They're in a division with Bill Belichick, and then, Tua and Mike McDaniel, they made the playoffs last year. I think there's a real sense of urgency you've seen how many players for Buffalo have come out and said, we want DeAndre Hopkins. He needs to be here. We've got to make this happen. Von Miller, a bunch of players. And then you see DeAndre Hopkins saying, I respect everybody with that franchise. I love Stephon Diggs. I love Josh Allen. Can you imagine if the Kansas City Chiefs have the best standing offer for DeAndre Hopkins and the ridicule that the people in Buffalo in charge would take? So if this goes down, you're staring Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh's defense. You're Buffalo, and you're like, oh shit, we might. Josh Allen's not losing his job, but their GM, their drafts have not been good lately. Name one impact player that they've drafted recently. Their coach got outschooled and outclassed in the first round of the playoffs, badly outcoached, got undressed by Lou Anarumo and company in that Cincinnati Bengal loss in the snow. They desperately need DeAndre Hopkins. And if they're sneezing at the asking price, I would stick it right in their face and say, Kansas City has a standing offer. It's their second round pick. You better fucking pay up. I think that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like a little respect, though. It's Arizona Cardinals coaching candidate great Lou Anarumo.
Yes, appreciate
coaching finalist.
We really appreciate you.
But I mean, you got Sauce Gardner in that division for the foreseeable future, who's clamps. It's like he's going to take care of wide receiver one. Like you might get one here and there, but he's in his second season. He's legit. He's going to be playing for the Jets, and you need other options. And, you know, I think last season when you saw what happened with Buffalo and, you know, they had Gabriel Davis emerge in the postseason, the previous postseason, I should say, and then the expectations where he was last season, and he kind of balked at those. Like, you need a legit second threat. Kansas City's got Kelsey, and they're going to have to figure out, they're maybe a little arrogant to think.
But they have the benefit of the doubt. They can take a step back for a year.
I mean, Brady and the Pats and Belichick went through it too, like this facelift and this evolution, right? And Patrick Mahomes, or in Brady's case, he just had a revolving door of guys that were his skill position players, and some worked and some didn't. But, you know, like if you really want to rely on, you know, Sky Moore and Justin Ross, who redshirted his rookie season out of Clemson, and then just continue to just go to Kelsey well and see how far that can take you, that's fine. And then pivot when you have to, that's fine. But like Buffalo, like you said, pressure's on. You have to bust through that ceiling that you haven't been able to bust through in the last two seasons with those expectations sky high.
Jalen Blair with a comment. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking in the chat, every time I hear you guys try to sell DeAndre Hopkins to other teams, I wonder if you're thinking, if he's that damn good, then why don't you keep him? I'll give you a case in point. Go look at PHNX_Cardinals. Go look at the quarterback room for this franchise right now. We might as well get, you know, some people in the chat to go play quarterback for this franchise. Jeff Driscoll, with all due respect, Colt McCoy can't even throw right now. DeAndre Hopkins, even as great as he is at $30 million, with whatever the Cardinals are going to trot out before Kyler Murray, and we've got some time, that's not good business sense. It's just not. Plus, he can help kickstart their rebuild and expedite it if you can get premium picks back. The Cardinals are not on the same timeline. This is not a newsflash than Buffalo and Kansas City and these teams trying to get over the top and win another championship. So, I got messaged by a Buffalo writer, and he told me, he said, the Bills, you know, they should have an extension for Gabriel Davis soon. And it made me think, like, awesome. So you can continue to lose to Cincinnati, and so you can continue to lose to Kansas City. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is a better receiver than Stephon Diggs on most Sunday, and I'll stick by that. I know he's older, but if DeAndre Hopkins had Josh Allen's and Kirk Cousins his entirety of his career, I think it would be a different story. But yeah,
I mean, Diggs' availability has been gives him the edge for me the last two seasons, but. No, when he's healthy, obviously with that qualifier, it's tough to tell the difference. They're both wide receiver ones.
I want to do a standing ovation to Monti Ossenfort when this trade goes down, and it's what we hope it is, and just bring up every news clipping with our friend Albert Breer on it saying that the Cardinals should
drag Albert Breer.
I don't want to, but I'm like, it's like we literally were reaching for news that we had to put out there that the Cardinals were going to cut DeAndre Hopkins.
I've maintained this. Who are his sources? It's the Patriots.
New England cronies.
And the Patriots just want it to drive the price as far down as possible, and they started feeding them I don't know, just crap. It wasn't good, and
Bad.
to actually go public and say teams are waiting for them to just outright release them, that would be absurd. So, if the Cards can get that $30 million cap hit off their books this year, and you add it to what they have now, which is at relative to this point in the offseason and what they could go into the season with, they're going to have quite a bit of cap space left and potentially roll over some into the next offseason, which would be huge, and get Nook's big cap hit off for the remainder going forward. So do we want to get into the mocks now, or do we want to just kind of recap practice a little bit from today?
Why don't you recap practice? I want to know about Jeff Driscoll and his throwing motion, and I want to hear how Isaiah Simmons. How did Isaiah Simmons look on the practice field, Bo?
Look, we had some sights from practice. Producer Jacob, if you could bring those up. Just as Johnny mentioned, you didn't see a whole lot of Colt McCoy out there. Here we have McCoy and the quarterback crew.
Electric.
Look at this. You'll just tuck it there, and then you've got the magic man David Blau there. So this one's the interesting, because you got Zaven Collins and he's hitting the sled, right? And you've got Majay Sanders behind him. You've got you've got Victor Dubakaji in this group. You've got Dennis Gardeck. You've got Cam Thomas. What do those guys play, Johnny?
They play edge rusher.
They play edge. They play outside linebacker. Zaven Collins, I thought he was a middle linebacker. I thought he was an inside backer. Well, it doesn't seem like that's how Jonathan Gannon early on is viewing Zaven Collins. I asked him about it. Producer Jacob, we had Jonathan Gannon talk about Zaven Collins here and him playing outside linebacker.
We'll see. I don't know that. We had him there. I think these last 2 days, and he's doing a good job. What I love about Zaven is that's the type of makeup that you want in your players. Is, Coach, I'm willing to do anything that you want me to do to help the team. And when you have a bunch of guys like that on your team, you have a good chance to win.
Do you have a good chance to win when your ex-GM goes on Dan Patrick and says that Draft Day is probably one of the most accurate movies I've ever seen? What about that?
As far as flying, the closest experience I can find in cinema is Soul Plane or Snakes on a Plane. that is
Steve Keim
thing. Draft Day is the most
so much
realistic
damage to
draft
this franchise. So Steve Keim's last 2 first-round picks that he made, Zaven Collins was an inside backer, is now playing pass rusher. Before that, it was Isaiah Simmons, who was not on the field, who's not going to get his 5th-year option picked up, who in his 4th year doesn't have a position. Applaud Steve Keim. Great fucking job. Awesome job, Steve. Great job.
And then you look at the inside linebackers. So I kind of went over to where the inside backers are. And you got Kazir White there. Their top signing this offseason.
Yeah, he'll call the defense.
You've got, Josh Woods. You've got Zeke Turner. Guys who are slight for the position, right? They're probably 220, 230 max, a little bit undersized, playing the middle of that field. They're not big boys like Zaven Collins. And then you look at, who's in that pass rush room, like Zaven Collins, 6'4", 260. I mean, the size is more like a 4-3 edge, isn't he?
Yeah. And I put this on Twitter, and it just, it's a big reason why I wasn't bullish on Simmons to begin with. But now it's like the writing's on the wall with Zaven Collins. It's like they want a big, robust front four, huge men, right? That's where they want their blue chippers. Then they want 3 about 5'11", 6 foot, 6'1", overachievers, guys, rah guys, coaches on the field, linebackers that are going to be undrafted, that are going to be late round picks, that are going to make no money. That's what they did in Philadelphia. That's what they do in Tennessee. Go look at Tennessee's linebacking core. I bet you couldn't name one player on Tennessee's, linebacking core. I'm not speaking to anybody disrespectfully. That's just, I couldn't name one for Tennessee. That's what the Cardinals are going to do. We should not be surprised. And Joel in the chat, I mean, he speaks for a lot of people. It's like Cardinals took these linebackers. They're not linebackers. The adults are in the room now, and they've watched tape of Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons, and they said, okay, this is what these guys do, and this is what they don't do, and blah, blah, blah. They're not. I'm not surprised at all. You sent that to me today. I'm like, this is the least surprising thing I've ever
As far as Isaiah Simmons, he was not on the practice field due to reports. Arizona Cardinals, azcardinals.com reporter Danny Sarek said that he was in the building. I didn't see him out there. He wasn't on the practice field. Jonathan Gannon said that there were players that were there but in meetings. But then when asked about his fifth-year option, this is what Gannon had to say.
Probably a better question for Monti, but we take it one day at a time and then make decisions with all the information that we have.
So he really wouldn't answer that. But look, today Chase Young had his fifth-year option declined. And it's a little bit easier with Chase Young than if Chase Young in a contract year balls out, his fifth-year option number, if he makes a Pro Bowl this year, would be his second Pro Bowl. Isaiah hasn't made any Pro Bowls. If he made
he hasn't
second Pro Bowl, his fifth-year option number goes up to about $19 million. And then as far as what it would take to franchise tag a defensive end, it's about the exact same number. So Washington has the advantage of declining the option, but also having the opportunity to keep the player if they can't reach out a multi-year extension. But they don't have to make the decision now. And that's the advantage there, where the Arizona Cardinals don't have that with Isaiah Simmons. And as far as the disparity between what he would make on a franchise tag, which is not in the question, it's $20 million for a linebacker. Plus you got, as far as what his fifth-year option would be, it's around $12 million. And I don't even think they want to spend that. The deadline, AK deadline, is Tuesday, May 2nd. But you can wait until the 11th hour. It ain't coming. What are you doing? You doing your Kermit drinking out of a teacup there? Is that what you're doing?
Oh, it turns out the guy doesn't have a positions, not getting $12.5 million next year. Oh, okay. The guy who got benched by Vance Joseph at the start of last year, not happening. And I would say if it wasn't for an injury right now, like, could Isaiah Simmons pass a physical right now? Or is Isaiah Simmons not on the practice field because he's about to be traded in the next 3 days?
It's really interesting. I was talking to our guy, Howard Balzer, and he was giving the details as far as financially what that would mean for the Arizona Cardinals. He would be, so if you don't pick up the fifth year, right, you've got most of the guaranteed money in his rookie contract spoken for. He's got a roster bonus that goes into effect come training camp. So, if there's a team, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. It's just like something you've got to figure out if any team views him as somebody that they would trade anything for. But here's another thing that here's the scenario that's probably likely, right? They decline the option. They get Isaiah back up to speed health. It goes back to the league meetings where we asked Gannon about Simmons, and he said he can't wait to get him on the grass or whatever. He's doing good health-wise, and he touched his shoulder, something in an undisclosed injury. And so he wasn't out there today, but it could very well turn out that Isaiah Simmons is playing snaps for this team in a contract year next year and is under the tutelage of Nick Rollis and Jonathan Gannon and could have a good contract year.
I think that we are naive to believe when literally everybody outside of Kyler Murray on this roster is on notice. Isaiah Simmons could very well be rehabbing, or he could be put on ice like Hopkins was at the end of last year because this team's going to trade him, during draft weekend. I'm not saying that that's likely. It's probably unlikely. I don't think this show can dismiss that notion at all, Bo Brock.
No.
What would it take for you to part ways with Isaiah Simmons? If you got a phone call on Isaiah Simmons, what would you need to move him?
It's the Jeffrey Okudah deal. Third round pick, right? Didn't they get a third?
You got a fifth round pick.
Fifth? Oh boy. Fourth round pick. I think Simmons at least proved to be a better, more productive pro than Jeffrey Okudah.
I don't think they miss him out there right now. You look at what they've done in the offseason. Somebody said in the chat, they're going to draft a linebacker if they have enough picks. They're going to draft some kid on day 3. They're going to bring in a bunch of undrafted free agents. They would rather prioritize in a season that, not a lost season, but a rebuilding year. Why are you giving Isaiah Simmons snaps if he's not going to be part of your team long term? Answer me that. Riddle me that, Bo Brock.
Look at who started for Philly. TJ Edwards was an undrafted free agent out of Wisconsin.
Yep.
And then Kazir White, who was kind of not a journeyman, but he was a guy that was a low, small, maybe minimum signing in the league, and then Gannon was able to develop, and he had a really good season for Philadelphia last year. So that's what the profile is for that position, because it's not a premium position. And you even saw the Bears last year weren't willing to pay that position, even with a player the caliber of Roquan Smith, upwards of $20 million for that type of productivity.
Could Isaiah Simmons be included in a DeAndre Hopkins deal? Like, people are speculating, could he go with Hopkins? I don't think so. I think they'd have to be their own individual deals.
Well, was in town. Hop's in town, right? He's in Phoenix. I saw on his Instagram story, he's actually down the street from the studios here. He was at some clothing store. He wasn't out on the practice field. I don't believe he was one of those guys that was in meetings. I doubt he was at the facility. Yeah. But if Simmons was, I mean, there's a difference there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Simmons is probably just rehabbing. I'm probably reading too much into this.
Yeah.
But I also.
You never do that.
No, I don't. But I also. Listen, the 5th-year option was never in play. Once we saw who was hired as GM, who was hired as head coach, it did not make sense. If not Vance Joseph. Let's say Adrian Wilson was still, around, he was the GM, or Quentin Harris, then there was a better likelihood, because those guys were a part of drafting Isaiah Simmons. All those people, a lot of Isaiah Simmons supporters and detractors, but supporters are gone. They're not around. They're not making the football decisions anymore.
Yeah.
And you've hired 2 individuals who thrive in taking underachievers at that position. I love underachievers at a lot of positions. You need blue chippers at left tackle and defensive tackle and edge rusher, right, and quarterback. You can get by with some of these non-premium positions, running back, right, and linebacker. That's why Kime he's such a joke, because it's like the Cardinals would literally have a budget to go grocery shopping, and instead of getting milk, bread, and eggs, he would come back with a Nintendo Switch. Sorry, everybody, we can't have dinner, but check out Animal Crossing. You want to play this game with me? Oh, everybody's starving. Too bad. I got another inside backer, 8th overall. I'm going to play him everywhere. You're going to love it. This Nintendo Switch, we're going to do everything with it. That was Steve Kime. RIP, pour one out for Steve Kime's tenure drafting players for this franchise.
Man. I'd literally let Kevin Costner draft before Steve Kime at this point.
Right now, ahead of the NFL draft, take a second, splurge a little bit at not a premium price, by the way. If you need some fresh gear for this spring, check out our friends at Pins and Aces. Your golf game's on point. We know your draft game's on point. Check them out. Best golf apparel accessories out there. Use that sweet promo code PHNX to get 15% off. One of my favorite polos I have is from Pins and Aces. Fantastic quality, breathable fabric material. The official golf apparel partner of ALLCITY and PHNX. Check out Big Drive Energy wherever you get your podcasts. Again, we love our Pins and Aces gear. I wear my shirt, Bo Brack. It's like a unicorn type of shirt. People come up to me and say, where'd you get it? How did you get it? It's Pins and Aces, baby. Pinsandaces.com. Click the link in the show notes to sign up for the Keeping It 100 golf tournament at our place, Dobson Ranch, on May 26th. Pins and Aces is going to be there with prizes, giveaways, whatever you want. Pinsandaces.com. PHNX is the promo code. 50% off your first order and free shipping.
I was standing under the bright Arizona sun out there, the Arizona Cardinals mini camp today. I was fine. I wasn't squinting. I was taking in practice. Perfect vision. Thanks to our friends over at Shady Rays, because they've got those polarized frames that everybody loves, and they're at affordable prices. And that polarizing prices, they're at affordable prices. You got to get in on these Shady Rays. We got the best deal of the season, 50% off when you buy 2 or more pairs. Get in there now. For our listeners, you get that exclusive deal. Shady Rays giving out that at shadyrays.com using the code PHNX. You get 50% off. When you get 2 or more pairs of glasses, you get 50% off. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars or by over 250,000 people, not Johnny, myself, and just the PHNX crew giving the 5 stars to the Shady Rays. It's actually 250,000 people saying that these are legit. You got to buy some for yourself. You're not going to be buying like those boutique sunglasses, those name brand sunglasses like Bay-Rands or Folkleys or anything like that. Those are actually collecting dust in my truck in place of Shady Rays. I love my Shady Rays. Check them out. Use the code PHNX at shadyrays.com.
Love our Shady Rays. Love our mock drafts here at PHNX Cardinals. Yesterday, we posed a challenge to everybody in the chat. PHNX Cardinal faithful, send us your mock. We want to see what the people want to see. And boy, oh boy, did you guys deliver. We got a ton of mocks. We tried to grab every single one of them between Bo and I's DMs, which, of course, are always wide open. Bo, should we jump into the mocks of the people?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start with the first one. Let's bring it up here, Jacob. Dealer's choice. There we go. Solo Wing Pixie dropping some fire. Trading down. So this happened in all but one of our listener mock drafts. Only one person sticked and picked. Wow. Everybody else traded down. So this is the one of many. Trading down to 13th overall pick, making a deal with the Green Bay Packers and including DeAndre Hopkins in this deal. So the Cardinals swap first-round picks. They get a second-round pick. They get a third-round pick. And then they get a pair of twos, future twos. Miles Murphy, they utilized 13th overall pick. Johnny, you like that?
I love it. Solo Wing. I love the name, by the way. I also like...
Is that Star Wars nerd stuff?
No, it makes me think of the Wing King.
Wing King right here, Saul Bookman.
Yeah, that's a load of crap. You know what this is gonna make me think of right now? We're gonna be able to pour one out at the end of the weekend for all of the PFF mock draft darlings like Anthony Johnson Jr. and Stetson Bennett. It's like there's always that group of like 3 to 5 guys that we all put in our mocks on day 3. Like, what if Anthony Johnson Jr. is like an undrafted free agent at the end of day 3 and he was in everybody's mock? I love this. Stamp it, put an A on it. Anytime you can recoup multiple seconds, 3 seconds, that's a fantastic trade. I don't care. Green Bay can do what they want with D-Hop. And I love premium position is edge rusher with your first pick, John Michael Smith. You get an A.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, as you mentioned, edge, center, cornerback, edge, guard, cornerback. I mean, that is sweet, sweet music right there. Great job by Solo Wing Pixie. That's hilarious to think. You're going to see Anthony Johnson make a play on Sunday Night Football like 5 years from now. Like, where the fuck do I remember that name from? Oh, you mocked him in basically every PFF mock draft. All right, let's continue the mock draft, the viewer listener mock drafts. Thanks for sending these in. Let's get into this one. Producer Jacob, let's see the next mock draft. Noel F, he went different. He didn't use PFF. He went down one pick with Indy. We don't have the trade details on this. Took Will Anderson Jr. out of Bama. Then at 34th overall, got Steve Avila out of TCU, the guard. Keely Ringo, local product at Saguaro. That's where part of the trade. So he got 35th overall with Indy. So Keely Ringo comes over out of Georgia, then gets the future center, Luke Whippler, the Ohio State center. And then I don't know this running back too well out of Texas A&M, but in the third round, got an A+ out of it. I love it. I love it. What's not to like about this one?
Oh, I told you yesterday, I think it's best case scenario. You trade down, you still get Will Anderson Jr. It looks like with the trade down, you got pick 35. Probably don't get anything more than that from Indianapolis. You take advantage of Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay. You love to see it. And my two favorite players in this draft are Steve Avila and Will Anderson Jr. So A+. It's going to be hard to beat that. Let's check out the next one here on the mock draft streets. Nadro J with a robust draft that includes almost double-digit picks. Looks like
could
a trade down.
Yeah,
Nadraj. Okay. Nadraj traded down from 3 to 5, got Tyree Wilson, so made a trade with the Seattle Seahawks. And the Seahawks, it looks like they gave up number 5 and 21, so he went heavy. Additionally, he got pick 37 and 54. This is one of the most robust trade down scenarios I have ever seen. He's got Tank Bigsby, who's I'm a big fan of. He got Luke Whippler at pick 54. We have some draft darlings for this fan base, don't we? Whippler's a fan favorite. Avila's a fan favorite. Tank Bigsby's a fan favorite. There's a group of about 5 to 10 guys that this franchise would love to see the Redbirds walk home with, Bo.
I mean, to take Seattle for this ride and get both their first rounders and then some, it'd be a win. It'd be an ultimate. Monti Ossenfort would be walking with his chest puffed out very large after a deal like that, and to pull back that draft capital. Another solid draft. Let's continue this mock draft. Vaughn. So this one, this is the one stick and pick we had.
I
So
respect it.
He held strong, took Will Anderson Jr. 3rd overall.
He traded down in the 2nd round. Look at that, though.
Steve Avila was on the board, your guy. Then Luke Whippler. So the interior of the Arizona Cardinals offensive line getting bolstered by those 2 big prospects. Then you get Tyreek Stevenson, the corner out of Miami. Jonathan Mingo, big physical wide receiver. That's one of my guys in this draft. You put on the tape, you watch Mingo play football, you'll fall in love with him. Got a little Anquan Bolden in him. So you get him in the 3rd round, and then you get the defensive lineman out of Texas. Can't go wrong with this. W draft for Vaughn W.
That's an A draft from Vaughn, 100%. A draft from Vaughn. Haven't seen anybody have a robust trade down outside the top 10. Let's see if this next mock draft whet our appetite here. Who we got going in the next mock draft? A Tuzkov. He's out of the top 10. He's taking Peter Skoronski, pick 12. Kudos to you, my friend. That's where Peter Skoronski should be taken, just outside the top 10. Cardinals in the process of trading down that far. Looks like they're dabbling a little bit at pick 27. Interesting. So they get the big
look. If Kancey makes it all the way down that far, even if they haven't pulled off a trade, if they don't get the trade done, early in the draft, if they're able to trade back and get a defensive tackle prospect as athletic as Kancey, who we saw put on a show at the combine with his speed and athleticism, that would be huge out of Pitt. I think there was another defensive tackle that was pretty athletic coming out of Pitt a couple of years ago. Will McDonald out of Iowa State, another talented edge out of Iowa State. I said that, right? Tyreek Stevenson, another we saw him go in the last draft out of Miami. And then Jalen Duncan, the tackle out of Maryland. Nice little pick there in the 3rd round.
Yeah, these mocks, man. We've done so many mocks, they start to merge and mush your brain. But I love all these mocks nonetheless. We got any more, Jacob? Let's see who's on deck.
Got a lot more.
Joel, our guy. I love
9 more still.
9 more.
Oh, perfect. Let's do it,
Johnny. We're going to take this thing home.
Joel, fan of the program, incorporates the D-Hop trade. Love to see that. Christian Gonzalez, who I think is the #1 corner on the Cardinals board. You get a trade down with Detroit. I think this is a very realistic package. 18 and next year. That's it. So they get their 1st and their 18th pick to go up 3 spots. I think Detroit would do that if they got their quarterback of the future. So he gets Christian Gonzalez, Miles Murphy, and 2 building blocks, Bo, for the defense, with Anton Harrison being pick 27, Whippler, Kobe Turner. DTR, this is
let me kiss this one. You get a corner, you get an edge, you get a tackle, you get your starting center in the future, and a guard. That was pretty beautiful. And then I know you like DTR. I'm a little lukewarm on DTR. Let's move right on to the next one. Very good from Joel there. K1 Revenge Tour. Love the Twitter handle. Don't know your real name. I just went off the Twitter handle here. Another Christian Gonzalez, but this is a trade down, not with the Lions, but down to 11 with Tennessee. If there was a team that our mock drafters traded with most, they were taking advantage of Monti Ossenfort's former club, Rand Carthon there in Tennessee, and getting a haul of picks this time. He gets the 11th overall pick. He gets the 41st overall pick. Gets a 3rd rounder and a future 1st. That's essential here. Christian Gonzalez gets Felix in the 2nd round, the edge out of K-State. Your boy Avila and Whippler in the next 2 picks. Corner out of TCU and Hodges Tomlinson. Can't go wrong with this. I don't like Malik Cunningham at the end. I just don't think he can play quarterback at the next level.
Okay, bro. Well, it's a 6th round pick, so don't worry about it. Dabney in the chat. Let's fleece the Titans. Trade down. Hell yeah. Big fan of this mock. A big fan of any mock with Tennessee, because you're just going to get a smorgasbord of picks. And we've talked about it. The Cardinals view about 4 to 6 players in the same kind of category. You're assured to get one of those players at pick 11. Next up on the PHNX Cardinals.
A lot of pressure here. A guy picking spreads. All
right, let me break
draft experts.
Let me break it down. A- on the trade. So he takes advantage of the Titans as well. And he gets pick 41. He gets a 1st and a 2nd next year. I think that's a very nice, realistic haul. Here's what's not realistic. Tyree Wilson, 11th overall. That feels like a forced pick by pick and spread.
How does PFF give that a C?
I don't know. That pick and spread best mock, baby. Love John Michael Smits. Love Cody Mock. Love Mike Morris late in the draft.
I love Darius Rush there too. Round 3, corner from South Carolina.
Very, very good mid-round picks for this team. Xavier Hutchinson's fine, even though he got a couple Fs and a D-. This looks very similar to a lot of report cards I got. did really well in language arts, and and then you get the science and the math in there, and not looking so good.
Not looking so good at these pink shades over my shoulder. And your Bet's co-host Shane Diefenbach about to hit the
cancel
road.
that man's flight, so he has to go to Fort Beach tomorrow.
Let's continue here. Continue our mock draft. Pick and spreads, solid performance there. I like the risks he took. It's somebody who's actually watching the film out there, not just going off what PFF is telling them. And I'm not saying all of our listeners or viewers do that, but I like it. It's coming from his own knowledge, not what he's reading. Devon Witherspoon, another corner, top pick here, 10th overall. That's where they trade down. You got to love it. The boldness. Another trade. DeAndre Hopkins going to Philly in this one. But here are your top picks. Devon Witherspoon. And then their top pick in the second round, Felix Uzama out of Kansas State, Steve Avila, Luke Whippler. Tell me if you heard that one before. You got some impressive prospects here. There's old Anthony Johnson Jr. that we're going to forget about after this weekend.
I think right now the draft darling, the mock draft darling is Steve Avila so far. That's the name to beat. That's the one I've seen so much. Kudos to all of you. That's the right choice. Is this the right mock draft? Coming up here. Next up in line.
Let's get to Ryan D here.
Ryan D. Oh, no.
This one's the superlative of spiciest draft by far. So he trades down with Washington, gives him the 3rd overall pick. Cardinals go all the way down to 16. And who do they select? Good old Bijan Robinson going RB1 in round 1. And then in the second round takes DeJuan Jones, the Ohio State tackle, Steve Avila, Luke Whippler. Stop me if you've heard that one before. And then you've got some Clayton Tune all the way at the bottom. Trying to take a quarterback, a little flyer on a quarterback at the end of this one with some cornerbacks and some defensive linemen in the middle. I love it, Ryan D. I do. I hope it doesn't come to fruition. I hope the Arizona Cardinals, the new regime, although Bijan Robinson is going to be a beast, they still have the luxury of taking a running back right now.
That is shocking. That's one of the most shocking mocks I've seen so far. I'm very much here for it, though. We know Kime wanted Najee Harris 16th overall. So, I mean, let's party with Bijan. I would immediately embrace Bijan Robinson if he became a member of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, you're probably buying his jersey, right? Yeah, absolutely.
I would. He'd get a single digit. Somebody would give him a single digit. He'd force his way into the top 10. And it's not great for team building, but it's great for headlines and PHNX Cardinals. Speaking of great, let's check out the next mock draft.
4 more drafts remaining.
All right. Oh, here I got to do this one because you hate Paris Johnson Jr. How about this? Trading down from 3 to 11. You're netting pick 41. Love it. First rounder next year. Love it. Third rounder next year. And you're getting Paris Johnson Jr. and Osiris Torrance. Oh my God. The NFC West foes, the defensive lines will not sleep well. If the Cardinals are going to trot out Paris Johnson Jr. and Osiris Torrance, Bo Brock, they are a freight train from hell on the left side. Start them from day one.
Look, the first 4 picks of this draft for the Arizona Cardinals, Paris Johnson Jr., Osiris Torrance, Mozzie Smith,
this might be the best one.
Michael Bidwell is going to have to widen the doors and also make them a little taller for these massive men coming through the doors of the building for their draft press conferences and beyond.
I don't think this is realistic because of the Hopkins trade. That's my favorite mock draft so far.
That's a fun one.
Avila, Whippler, Paris Johnson Jr., Osiris Torrance. I mean, it's fantastic. Great job on that mock draft.
Jared, I believe. Let's go on to the third to last. Tay dropping in. Nice little one. Going down, trading with the Colts. 1 spot. Will Anderson Jr. Get Uzama from the Kansas State in the second round, using that extra pick for Steve Avila. Then we got another trade here with Carolina. And you got Luke Whippler, Avila Whippler. You heard that before? Hodges Tomlinson. You got A.T. Perry out of Wake Forest, the wide receiver. You got the big defensive lineman, Ojimo out of Texas. Another trade with the Browns, getting some more draft capital here. Good-looking draft here from our friend Tay. Johnny.
Will Anderson Jr., a name we haven't seen too much on these mock drafts, Bo. I don't hate it. And put this out there on Twitter. Like, I hope we haven't romanticized the trade down so much so that if we take Will Anderson Jr. 3rd overall, people are going to be disappointed. I still am going to be fired up by that reality if that comes to fruition tomorrow. But I think this is great. Will Anderson Jr. and Steve Avila, again, if you're able to net both those 2 players, Luke Whippler is in that category. I mean, Tony Pauline, if you just joined our show, said that Luke Whippler was going to be drafted by the Cardinals. So
yeah,
do the Cardinals know something we don't as it relates to, okay, they're probably not going to take him at 34, and he probably won't be around by the time they're picking in the third round. Is there a pick that they're going to acquire here in the next 24 hours that becomes Luke Whippler? I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, second to last mock draft. Great job there by Tay. This is a Paris Johnson Jr. stand draft. So you got 11th overall. They dropped down to 11, which our listeners and viewers did 5 times. Just some mock draft analytics there. Just dropping it in on you. Paris Johnson Jr. at 11. You get Cansey out of Pittsburgh at 34. You get the big tackle out of or edge out of Northwestern, who I loved watching play at the Senior Bowl. Whippler, Jonathan Mingo. This is a solid draft. You gotta
DTR, baby.
Yep. You get Tank Bigsby playing some favorites, playing some hits here of your
Play
two
the
hosts. Absolutely, you can't go wrong with this one. Love it, Cards Fan 85. And here's our last mock draft. I've got one I'll add and I'll break it down, but this is the one you can watch visually. I don't know which. So this is ESPN Analytics. So they did a draft here. Paris Johnson Jr., another 11th overall pick, then takes the Mississippi State corner Emmanuel Forbes, 34th overall. Tell me if you've heard this one before. Steve Avila, 41, Luke Whippler, 66, and then Jalen Duncan, the Maryland tackle, 96th overall, pulling off a trade, 3rd overall pick for a package of picks. Just got sent one, Johnny. This is from our friend Tom Bauer. He's saying Cardinals are going to trade down to 8 with the Atlanta Falcons. They receive 8th overall pick, a future second round pick, and an extra second round pick, and a 3rd round pick in the 2023 draft. Goes
Is that
Paris
all?
Johnson, DeJuan Jones out of Ohio State. So both tackles, you're bookending the Ohio State tackles there. You're pulling off a trade for DeAndre Hopkins. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Steve Avila, Luke Whippler in round 2 and 3. Hodges Tomlinson. Then you got A.T. Perry, Tank Bigsby, and good old Anthony Johnson Jr. Before we forget that he exists on planet Earth. Great collection of mock drafts from our viewers and listeners. Big thank you to everybody that listens, watches the show, that's been a part of this draft coverage all off season long. It's been a blast. Thank you for your mocks. Lost in the shuffle. I apologize. I think we got most of the mocks. Told you on social media we'd get to them. Maybe we can jump in here. Evan L. He had Paris Johnson, Mozzie Smith, Uzuma out of Kansas State. Whippler did not go with the Whippler Avila package. Went with Hodges Tomlinson and Isaiah McGuire. Andrew Voorhees, I like that addition for a guard that's going to be kind of a pick and stash after he tore his ACL before the combine. Thank you all for submitting those, and want to remind everybody about our friends at OG's. There's so much more than gummies, and if you're stressed out about tomorrow and you're thinking the Cardinals aren't going to get enough for D-Hop, they're not going to be able to trade down, pop in an OG's. They're all about the culture and everything we do, and they're truly about making experiences and weaving into the fabric of both PHNX and the sports that we talk about. I love all of their signature flavors, including the Aquaberry Sleep Edition, which has the best CBN THC ratio to flavor your dreams. We know our guy Frank Sanders loves the orange creamsicles. Find them at your local dispensary, which is also here in Maricopa at ogsbrands.com. You got to be 21 and older to enjoy responsibly. I want to get to a couple of these super chats, Bo, because we missed these earlier. We said we were going to do a short show today. Here we are at 70 minutes because, again, the outpour of love and support has been immense. This is a perfect table setter appetizer ahead of, 3 full days of content. We cannot wait. Let's try this from our guy, Han Shot First, friend of the program, $4.99 super chat. Bo Brack, you can't do the Han Solo pose. Don't even try it. Would you feel better about Paris going 3rd and D-Hop going to the Bills, gaining a second first rounder? 2 first rounder picks would be a win, in my opinion. Absolutely. That would be the pick swap, right?
Yeah. Yep. Paris Johnson Jr., and then you're swapping 34 for 27. D-Hop goes bye-bye. I think the hard part for a lot of people to wrap their arms around in that reality is there are no more picks to be had. right? You don't have a second then. You don't have an added second from a trade down. So you really got to feel good about Paris Johnson and who you take at 27, Bo.
Let's go from Han to Han. Our guy Han Sagan jumping in here. Simmons has 2 of the best defensive plays in Cards history. Of course, he got to go. Look, I mean, it doesn't come without its risk. I believe that, to where, somebody with the right tutelage and right coaching, Isaiah Simmons could be a great player in this league. But as far as the consistency, down-to-down basis, what it's going to cost to keep him in-house, it's pretty rich right now. And for the new regime to have to pick up the tab on that, I think that's asking a little bit much. Last super chat of the show, our guy Picking Spreads. You saw his mock draft. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Been an awesome draft season with you guys. Good luck on the show tomorrow. Unfortunately, I will be watching. I'll be live on TikTok, but I'll try to check in when I can't wait for the next 3 days. You're going to have your own TikTok channel going on, Picking Spreads. If you want, go ahead, plug away in the chat. People who are on TikTok. I don't live on TikTok. More a Twitter guy myself. But you can plug away. TikTok. Watch Picking Spreads, I guess, live out there.
Check out Howard Balls or go PHNX.com. The PHNX Cardinals beat reporter. Slam that promo code Howard, HOWARD. Howard's going to be hanging out with us at Four Peaks before he heads on over to Tempe to chat with Ossenfort and Gannon in the post-draft presser. Can't believe we're saying that. We are less than 24 hours away now from the start of round 1. Tomorrow, come out, Four Peaks. I've been told we're at max capacity. That means nothing to me. Come out to Four Peaks tomorrow, 2 p.m. to kick off the draft. Yeah. The draft festivities.
Schmeier code.
That Four Peaks is ready for PHNX Cardinals takeover. Wear a PHNX piece of merchandise. You get a free brewski on Bo Brack and Johnny Venerable. We're going live right before the start of round 1. Bo and I are basically going to be live for 2 straight days and a recap at the end of day 3. We cannot wait. It's been a phenomenal draft season. You guys have made it all the more bearable as this team continues to give us, let's just call it no news. We're going to get all the news. It's going to be a jam-packed 72-hour period, and you know where to tune into to get all your news, information, and entertainment as it relates to the Arizona Cardinals. It's PHNX Cardinals. Like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star. Turn that little bell on YouTube so you get that notification. If you can't make it out to the draft festivities, we are live tomorrow. Do not miss it. For Bo Brack, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you tomorrow.